Do-do-do. Hello and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course with me tonight is Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, somewhere between blowing a gasket and planning to, take over the planet.
Oh, okay. So not evil.
Not evil, but also not to the point of ready to put up with people's bullshit.
Hmm. Well, I was telling you earlier today, my whole mood's been like Tawanda.
There,
Matt.
well, it's Pride Month, and it's one of those things. It's like, what are we going to rewrite this time?
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to rewrite? And we got into this conversation, and I'm like, this is what we're doing for Thursday.
Well, for Friday, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we were having the conversation Tuesday night after the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. And for anyone who might have missed the reference, that was fried green tomatoes with Tawanda.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that's where I'm at.
And, that's where we need to be at with some things.
That's where we need to be at with a lot of things right now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What is Pride Month for you?
Well, in what sense? Are we talking about the conversation we had Tuesday night, or are we talking about in general?
In general.
For me, specifically, Pride Month was always kind of this odd thing. Working with a LGBTQA I forget. It was a whole alphabet soup, but UNTG Pride, working with them, it was kind of like the unfortunate month. And I call it the unfortunate month for one reason. And that is our academic year ended in May.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we were going to do, we had to, basically do during the school year. There wasn't a lot that we did over the summer. And trying to work out, like, going to different, like, events or getting stuff together. We really didn't get to do a lot. The summer months, like, the organization basically shut down.
Right.
So
back to their all at home.
Right. Because it was kind of a suitcase campus.
Mm-hmm.
So on that front, I didn't get to do anything really with UNCG Pride during that month. In terms of life, in general, like non-school, it was. I've always looked at it as a month to kind of pause, reflect, and yeah, if you can get out to an event, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot this year, what we're seeing is that on one front, it is definitely going to be the year of virtual everything.
Right.
A lot of events have canceled for June. So unfortunately, we do not have a Pride Month this year. I am, however, really happy to see that some groups are taking their like the application, or I think this is what's happening, is some groups are taking the applications they've done for their parades.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that Pride itself is a canceled event, those applications are still there, and it looks like some of those are being handed, or kind of, so to speak, handed over for marches related to Black Lives Matter. Right. I was seeing a little bit of a story earlier today, and then I got sidetracked, and I unfortunately didn't get to read that one.
Right.
But that was kind of, I think the gist I was getting is that that's what may be happening this month. Mm-hmm. Is that groups that already had parades that were permitted, those permits weren't rescinded. Like, you can cancel an event and still have the permit to have one.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably a really great use of those permits, especially right now with so many protests effectively being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder to attack an event that is permitted.
Right. Very harder to attack in a permitted event.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me, Pride has always been a working event. It's not a time to sit and look pretty in the corner. Whether it was working the bars or working the parade or working the event, or I've had a few different roles through Pride. Never in a official Pride role, but
yeah.
And then, of course, the historian in me goes, "All right, let's see what they're whitewashing to this year."
Yeah. Well, there is that.
Yeah, or comparing Pride to.
Okay.
I think that's more annoying to me.
Okay.
Is that they take the Christopher Street riots and compare them to Black Lives Matter going on here. It takes away from here's events.
Okay. Help me through this. Sorry.
Christopher Street riot was 3 nights. It was because we got tired of paying the mob off, dealing with the cops, and losing our jobs for being at a bar. The environment there was totally different than what is going on with Black Lives Matter.
See, I'm not seeing it that way. I'm seeing a strong correlation. Is that in both instances, I think that we're seeing a lot of that at both times when you're talking Stonewall and Christopher Street, and you're talking Black Lives Matter now. I think in both instances, there was kind of like contextually a lot of crap had led up to both situations.
Right.
Like it just keeps getting worse. No one's making any real legitimate, like, hold it up as a banner, like, yeah, we made progress here. Like, that's not happening.
Right.
In both instances. And then you turn around and, there's just finally that one too many event. Like, wrong place at the wrong time, and suddenly everyone snaps together on the same page.
Right.
And it's like, we're sick of this shit. Get over it. We're done. Stop doing it. We're not going to take it anymore.
Right. But two separate instances here. We have, Black people ain't paying the mob off, so they can have a place to come and have a drink.
Okay.
Or get in out of the outside weather.
Okay.
Okay. Which is what happened at Stonewall. It was a police raid on a bar. And what they would do is they would take and arrest people and run them in, and then the newspaper would release everybody's name on Monday, and they would lose their jobs, lose their housing. And it was repeated. And then the mafia moved in because they were like, we pay the cops $20, they pay us $30, we give them watered down drinks. This will work. And are making money off of us. Hi, Sharon. Hello. How are you? This isn't what, we're seeing in today's time.
Well, but we're still seeing employment discrimination, housing discrimination, loan discrimination, like, as in, you want to talk about the 2008 housing bubble. A lot of the predatory lending that led into that was geared towards minority communities.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have, there's a very lovely woman, and we've talked about her before, and suddenly her name just went out of my head. She, what most people would more so recognize for is the blue eye, brown eye experiment, which was a classroom event in, I believe, 1964, or excuse me, school year in 1963. Then it was repeated in 64, and recorded. A Canadian, I believe it was a Canadian, the Canadian Broadcasting Company came down, recorded it, and ultimately she, up until I think a few years ago, she was still going around the country doing this, is pulling people into two groups, and effectively teaching what racism is, how it works, how insidious it is. But there's one great clip in which one of the participants in this, in one of her events, gets fed up and is just done, won't deal with anymore, and she leaves the room. And then comes back in. And again, I cannot remember the woman's name, but the woman who does these sessions looked at her and said, "Oh no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to come back to this room and be part of this event until you apologize to every single person of color in this room." Because the thing you've got to remember, the thing you just got to do, your white privilege, was you get to leave this room and you're safe outside that room. No one was going to hurt you out there. No one could yell at you and scream at you and treat you like garbage out there. You come back in here, you got to deal with me.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing a lot. People of color don't get that option. There's no port in a storm. There is nowhere they can go in which they are going to escape racism. They can't go home and get away from it. They can't go to school. They can't go to work. They can't get on a bus. They can't go to a park. They can't go to a mall and escape racism. It is always there. There is no turning it off. There is no walking away and saying, I can't deal with that right now. That's just, too much. They are born with it and most likely will die with it. So I would make the argument that for Stonewall era, to make this a lot simpler and faster, let's say Stonewall era queer people. When we're talking about queer spaces, that was one place where you had some degree of ability to escape and be yourself and not worry. Still, you had police raids. Still, you were subject when those raids occurred. But you still had a space you could go into fairly frequently. And turn it off for a little while.
As long as you minded the rules.
Well, as long as you minded the rules. But isn't that every oppressed group?
I would agree. I would agree on that. And then, we have what I call the rewriting of history, or, and it's just the way it is. It's the rewriting of history. They want to, Sylvia Rivera, in 73, they didn't even want her to speak at New York Pride.
And I've got to interrupt real quick. Jane Elliott is the name I was trying to think of, and I could not get it out of my brain. who led the brown eye, blue eye experiment. Sorry. Continue.
But, you know, Sylvia Rivera, Martha P. Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the lesbian that refused to go into the paddy wagon. These names are not people who thought they were heroes. And at the time, most of them weren't even welcomed at the event for the first parade or the second parade or the third parade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sylvia Rivera left the movement for 20 years, said, fine, you don't want to help me, you don't want to support what I'm doing, I am out of here. You guys don't want me? Fine. And then now they're being, you know, the same movement is coming back and like sainthooding them.
I can see some of the issues that are there. And we do have problems. And we have always had. The umbrella has had some holes in it. So, yeah. But then you also look back through history, and sometimes there are a number of people who, looking backwards, you recognize their contribution and their importance and the vitalness of their existence and participation in an event, and coupled with, you know, a changing worldview towards the elements of who they are, you know, whether it's sexual orientation, color, gender identity, on down the line, you can more openly embrace them. One of the examples that always hits me is Alan Turing. Absolutely vital to winning World War II. Like, without Alan Turing, you do not get a computer capable of decoding the Nazi messages, the encoded, encrypted messages. But not for that, World War II could have been a whole lot different. British government
would be different.
Right. But British government, while they used him for his intellectual abilities and ignored what he was doing at the time, after the war, came at him full force. If I remember correctly on history, he was chemically castrated. And I believe that may have ultimately... I get a little fuzzy on the details. I know that in there he died, and I can't remember if that's suicide right now or not. But for many, many years, no one would recognize him or his importance to the war. That, you know, but not for his contribution, we would have never, like, there would have never been an advantage. We would have never cleared those communications to know what was about to occur.
Right.
So ultimately, it took many, many decades before his role, his contribution, and he as a person were actually recognized as war heroes.
Right. And, you know, he's still not fully recognized.
Oh, and Mark is helping us out. Awesome.
Yes. Just a few corrections, Mark. If our looking from the view of the time of our founding fathers, they weren't rioters; they were domestic terrorisms.
See, now I have to go back on that one and say, no, our founding fathers were technically rioters. They were protesting.
Yeah, they were protesting.
And it was a riot. Like, the Boston Tea Party was not a nice, quiet event.
No, it wasn't.
It was not a peaceful protest. As much tea as there was, it was not peaceful.
Right,
or civilized.
right. But that's one event. That's one. Well, three semis, Walmart semis being raided and looted.
Well, I'm sorry. Did you say semis?
Yeah, I'm translating it to today's times.
Okay, just making sure, because I was having a whole historically like, oh God, do we have to have a moment about Trump's Delaware airport or whatever it was.
But again, that was looting, that was raiding. The other domestic terrorism was them were destroying British setups. It was more than this romanticism of building a romantic war. No, this was on the ground guerrilla fighting.
Well, again, though, you when we go with and that's what we're running into right now is the terrorist label, domestic terrorism, which is what our idiot of a president is trying to launch at or ANTFA, ANTIFA. God, I can't do anything tonight. Anti-fascist persons who identify as anti-fascism, without realizing this is not one giant group. That he's trying to treat this like he should be treating the KKK or everyone who showed up at Charlottesville. Just as a theory. Instead, there were a lot of people in history that were very anti-fascism. It's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, what's he going to do? Go take down Patton's statue?
Well, again, when you're sitting there trying to label at best an ideology that this thing is wrong, that fascism is wrong as a terrorist group, no. That's not how that works. One, that's a really bad thing for our government to consider bad.
Right.
We fought a war over fascism. Did you not catch this?
We fought too.
Well, yes. But ultimately, do you not get this is a bad stance to take.
Right.
In general.
Right.
But on top of that, what that's ultimately doing and what it's being pointed towards is the current protesters.
Right.
Again, we didn't have a problem with the very good people who wanted haircuts.
Right.
Didn't have a problem with that. No one had a problem with that. Oh, except for everyone else in America.
Right.
Who is like, would you look at these morons and what the hell?
Well, not only that, but he wouldn't even allow Michigan to use the National Guard to protect their legislature when we have a bunch of armed thugs with auto machine rifles on state property.
Well, more importantly, on the steps of a governmental building. That's putting a massive threat into the mix. There was no curfew. There was no attempts to remove anyone. Their right to protest was respected. Nothing happened. No one can. In terms of a governmental response, in terms of a anti-movement, hi, take your right. We all think you're an idiot, but there you go. Go protest. If that's what you believe, go protest.
Right.
Would have preferred leave the guns at home. Generally,
at home
looks less like a protest and more like a possible nightmare. Less like a protest, more like a massacre. Like you're one drunken idiot away from a massacre here.
Right.
But yes. Sorry, I love Mark. The Kentucky State Legislature allows guns, but not yardsticks. Yardsticks are considered deadly weapons.
Mm-hmm. We saw the news reports of the haircut brigade, as we'll call them, taking over the legislature building and occupying it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was sent in, nobody was told, send the army in and shut them down. Oh no, Trump berates them on the freaking air, on Twitter.
Yeah. And how many days was the standoff over the watering rights? The one where they took over the ranger station.
Oh, that went on for a month and a half.
Was it that? I think it was longer than that. And again, armed occupation. Let me see. I want to see that. Oh, what is it? I have a real struggle trying to keep up sometimes.
I don't
know. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's amazing how fast that disappeared.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff disappearing.
Oh, come on. Okay, maybe watering rights is what's messing it up. I know that, that was a big... Pardon?
Try Standing Rock.
Yes, I think that is it. Maybe? Trying, not finding. Come on. Because I think Standing Rock is a different one. No, that's about the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Right.
All right. And that was also a very long one.
Yeah.
But now that was not to be confused with the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's, oh God, I'm trying to remember. Okay, we'll find it after the show. Otherwise, I'll be here all night, and you'll just be looking at me typing. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Mark. I think that's it. Yes, the Bundy thing. That's the one I was trying to think of, and I couldn't get the guy's name to come to my mind. And that was, well, April 5th to May 2014 is how long that lasted. And literally, it was a standoff. Clive and Bundy. Again, armed standoff, an occupation of the Bureau of Land Management, and that was in Bunkerville, Nevada. Sorry, I don't know where my brain is tonight, but apparently it is not in the game. So, my apologies, guys. This could be a fun Mountain Bears. But yes, sorry. So again, 1 month standoff with an occupation of a government facility. And again, there was a struggle to even attempt to go in and clear this protest. Like, no one wanted to touch this one with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
But yet, one day of a peaceful protest, And before it can even end, we have multiple states mobilizing to fight back against protesters.
Right. Well, not only that, but we have people being beat up by armed military police. We have people being gassed by federal agents.
Unidentified federal agents.
Yeah, unidentified.
Because we're using the Bureau of Prisons. Unidentified, no markings.
Yes.
On the ground, anti-protesters.
Right.
Then we have officers hiding their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that they can't be fired. This is just insane.
Good night, Mark.
Good night, Mark. Thanks for hopping in with us. It's insane. It's rude. It's terrible. It's aggravating. To be sitting here watching our government, and guys, please, in November, vote these idiots out.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So in other news.
Well, and other things, and Mark brought up some great points, about openly gay Revolutionary War generals, and we had this long discussion about Alexander the Great,
mm-hmm.
and relabeling people and relabeling situations.
Yeah, and I think that one, let's go ahead and get into that one on Mountain Bears. Because I think we both had good points on that one.
Right.
From my perspective, I look at history as one of those things in which it's a constant conversation.
Mm-hmm.
In that the way we're going to talk about history, the way we're going to talk about events is always going to be somewhat subject to change.
Mm-hmm.
Both through how we understand those events, how language changes over time, additional information that we learn, as well as just seeing the long-term effects of an event, of a historical event, as it goes into the future. I think there's always going to be a moment, and in addition to additional research going into those events,
mm-hmm.
that things may be realized about historical figures, about the events that took place, that may have been lost to history for any number of reasons. As in, during the time, it would have been objectionable to talk about that aspect. That you can't call someone a hero and, for instance, gay. You can't call someone a hero and pay a lot of attention to their race. You can't call someone a hero and etc.
Right. But here comes the problem.
Okay.
It wasn't an issue. It was normal. Especially during Alexander the Great's time, we'd have to go back and relabel most of the Roman citizens, and half the rest of the world either gender fluid, gay, bisexual, because
pansexual.
Exactly.
Well, but that also gets into the category of kind of like we were having the discussion about Marsha Johnson. And that's what kicked this off, was you totally disagree with her being labeled as a trans activist.
Right.
The trans being the problem because she never identified. And the point that I also made was that for her lifetime, there's a struggle there. In terms of the words that people would have used to describe themselves and the concept of identity for many of the decades of her life.
Right.
Especially the ones in which we seek, that we're kind of figuring out who we are and finding our labels. What fits, what doesn't, etc. And historically, there were labels that she would have used. And then there are other labels, trans being one of them. Trans as we know it now, meaning transgender, that didn't really exist.
Right.
That were not exactly part of the lexicon, part of what she would have learned or picked up in her lifetime.
Right. But also with that, she, in interviews, all the way up until 92, when asked, are you transsexual? No, I'm a drag queen. I'm a boy. I do this to make money. One of the videos we posted this week was a live interview of her and then with her friends. And nowhere in there, up until about 3 years ago, was she ever labeled transsexual.
Well, transgender. And again, and where I come at this at is that to some degree, when we begin a conversation about someone in history, we have to take into account the audience receiving the message. And how can we best communicate an understanding, at least, given current language, who this person is? Do we dig all the way through and explain contextually, the labels that she would have identified with?
Right.
And spend a whole lot of time just trying to label who she was instead of what she did?
Right.
Versus, do we use the language we have now and the labels and identities that we have now to try to jumpstart that conversation so we can kind of shoot through a lot of the labels and get to the substance of, and this was her significance.
Right.
I think there's some abilities there.
Martha P. Johnson versus Sylvia Rivera. Sylvia Rivera said she was transsexual all the way time. Transsexual, she used those labels. She appeared continually in life and in interview and in marches and parades when she was there as a trans woman.
Okay.
Marsha P. Johnson did not.
Okay. But again, what I'm saying is, and I get that there is an issue there. And I think it's one that definitely needs, kind of like an ender script. After you cover, the who she is, what she did, also go into some of the label issues with that.
Right.
Because to me, it's like the asterisk. Was a trans activist asterisk after trans?
Right.
That no, she would not have identified that way. She never did identify that way.
Right.
But to best understand who she was, it's a lot easier in some ways to start there.
Well, it's a lot easier to weaponize it, which is what I feel they're doing.
Okay. Who they and weaponize how?
Okay. Currently, there is a few things going on with the trans community.
Okay.
Of course, we're still fighting for their rights to have a job. We're still fighting for the rights to, be treated ethically in the medical community. I figure, in my lifetime, I'd figure we had already settled this since 70. When we look it up, it was either 67 or 72 when it became that it stopped being a psychological issue.
No. We looked up homosexuality being removed from the DSM, and that was, I believe, in 72 or 73.
Right.
I believe it was 73. Right. But no. There was a very long struggle after that to even begin the conversation,
right?
Because there was many decades after 73 in which someone who would have identified as trans would ultimately have been labeled with a mental disorder,
right?
Typically, I believe body dysmorphia. Would have basically been instructed in how to overcome that, and would have struggled for recognition and acceptance, especially medically, for the majority of that.
Right.
It was not recognized.
Right.
But yeah, I think there is so no, 73, that didn't go away.
Right.
That persisted.
Right. But there's a larger problem in our populace right now, which is the attack on trans females, namely Black trans females. And that is a whole big part of our problem right now. And people start trying to weaponize and trying to use that in pulling back with, and these three comments has aggravated the Hades out of me. That, remember, our movement started with a riot too, and it's like, no, it didn't start with a riot. It started with us losing our employment, us losing our housing, us losing our lives if we went to a bar and the police didn't get their payback. It started with these backwood country idiots trying to kill us, which still occurs today. Guess what? We still don't have ethical housing. We still don't have ethical employment.
Well, housing equality or employment equality.
Right.
But no, well, and okay, if you're going to go there, and I understand the issue now. You're looking at, well, but then again, you would end up in the same place, so to speak. I think the comment being made is that our real, yes, I understand that the problems began. Like, the reason it was bad to be gay or bad to be lesbian or bad to be trans or any queer person started with ultimately McCarthyism, technically. Lavender Scare, if you haven't read it, that's a great book. But it pushed a lot of this into overdrive.
Right.
So by the time you come out of McCarthyism and hit 1969, there's been a lot of losses and a lot of problems created.
Right.
So with that, though, I think it's more so looking at the comment of, or the reality of, our first cohesive, we're not going to take this anymore, started with a riot. Honestly, truly cohesive, everyone's on the same page, we are not going to deal with this crap anymore.
Right.
started with a riot. And to that, I don't see how it's very hard to disagree. But yes, the problems leading up to that moment, the things that we dealt with in our daily lives, no, did not start in 1969. It started way back,
Right.
and moved forward. But yeah, I would say that progress started with a riot. The beginning of the end started with a riot. Much the same way that if you go back to, the founding of our nation, our problems didn't start with a riot. Our problems began to quit being problems with a riot.
Right.
Ultimately leading to a revolutionary war, leading to a Declaration of Independence and a whole new nation.
Right.
Independent of. So yeah, I don't know. I wasn't understanding when we had the conversation after Tuesday's show that was where that might be at.
Yeah, that's where it's at. Is we have modern day heroes. We have people doing the work. We have night after night issues and night after night people working very hard to bring about change, dealing with stuff that's insane.
Right.
And then 20 years down the road, after they've been murdered, newsflash, if you don't know, Marsha P. Johnson was murdered. Let's go back and relabel them. Let's go back and take away what they clearly said they weren't, that this isn't it.
And again, I say that's unfortunately going to be a problem.
Yes.
With trying to understand her. Is that requires a lot, like a very deep dive into labels and context and time period and identity, that I think in many ways would ultimately, if you're trying to talk about her and her role and her involvement, to me, that falls further down. Like, I'm not saying it's unimportant, but it's one of those things, if that's where you want to front load at, like, is understanding identities and labels and, all the various things that go into that. I think you're going to end up making it a lesson about identity, and you're going to totally lose, like throw it out the window that, oh, by the way, here's what she did at that event and the significance of that.
Right. But they don't talk about her being one of the founding members of STAR. They don't talk about all the street children that she washed over, brought up, took care of. They basically break these people down to 3 nights out of a 46 years life.
Get that. But don't we do that with every historical figure to some degree? Like, we can, like, to what I'm getting at is that for every single historical figure, there are key highlights. These are the things you're going to be remembered for, and that's it. Like, and it's unfortunate, and if you want to do the deep dive, you will learn so much about someone's life and who they are, and have a greater appreciation and understanding of all of their contributions to the world. But ultimately in history, there's going to be kind of this condensing
Mm-hmm.
of how much can we go into for each individual. Like, how much time do we want to spend focusing on the fact that her identity is a slightly controversial thing? Like, let's call it that, controversial. As in, yes, these aren't the labels she would have used, but if you're trying to quickly get to a semi-understanding of who she is, it's a pretty decent shortcut. Because I would say it's a pretty decent shortcut.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see the problem with just trying to go, okay, trans activist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that's your best, like, category
Right.
to put her in. Like, I think that's a really shaky foundational one.
Right.
That's not really seeming where she was at.
No, it's not
So no, if you're going to create a great big book of trans activists
mm-hmm.
and trans heroes and trans pioneers through history, that's going to be a tough sell.
Right.
Yeah, or like, it's shaky. But then again, we also run into that. We have run into that if you want to go with gay historical figures,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a number
Mm-hmm.
that it's shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, labeling them, a gay historical figure, a gay hero, a gay activist, a gay anything is shaky.
Right.
It's very shaky. Because there are aspects of who they are that may fit that. But if you're looking at how someone identified and what they would have done in their life comparatively,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not going to work. That's not really a great way to do that.
Right.
So, yes. And sorry we haven't said hello to many people. Hello, Jessica. I think I saw a few other people come in, maybe.
Yeah.
Hello, Sharon. And let's see, we've got Mimi. All right.
All right. Mimi, I need your birth date, darling. If you want that question answered, I'll go ahead and answer it, but I'll need that birthday. But it's like the Phoenix Society. No one talks about that. That occurred 2 months after Stonewall in '69 that led into the gay activists, gay activist. They used all the same titles.
Do what now?
The meeting in '69 the Gay Activist Society held in Kansas City, set up by the Phoenix Society, who was already working with the other one that you think didn't make that much of an impact.
Well, but again, the Mattachine Society.
Mattachines.
Yeah. It's not that I think that the Mattachine Society had no purpose and they did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. I think that if we had continued with this, with the ideas that the Mattachine Society had, and is that the year on that birth date?
No.
Yeah, we need the year. Got to have the year. But no, if they had continued just following the Mattachine principles, I don't think that today we would be anywhere near where we are. I think that there is something to be said for peaceful protest and peacefully trying to sit down and have a civil conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That is an important aspect. There we go. But then there is also the moment in which you have to realize that well-behaved doesn't always get you where you need to be.
Yeah. And
You
I
know,
agree with that.
yeah,
But
if someone's dying in the car, stopping for every stoplight and doing the speed limit isn't what's most important right now.
right.
You
But
slam on the gas, you run some red lights, and you get to the damn emergency room.
right. But the other side of that, however, is they had the network set up. They had the ability to take what occurred at Stonewall,
Which
and
they highly disagreed with.
yes, they totally disagreed with it. I get that. But they were the ones that were there to go, okay, now that you guys are listening, what can we do with this?
Yeah.
You
But
know,
that's what I'm saying, is Stonewall ultimately becomes the point in which someone turned on the mic.
right.
And, bump, 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 is this thing on?
Mm-hmm.
Up until that point, it was, talking with the mic turned off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not that their conversations were not important. It is not that their appearances on public television were unimportant. It is not that the things they were doing were unimportant. It's just basically, whispering in a crowded room. It's, for the people that are able to listen, that are willing to listen, that are trying to hear, yes, it's important and it's wonderful and it's great. But there's a whole group of people that are going, na 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 na, until turn the mic on. But yes.
Yes. But looking at this, I'm going to warn you, Mimi, that yeah, you can make a lot of money. However, it's going to take some sacrifice. It's going to, they can be very demanding, almost to the point of oppressive. Which I find it interesting that both the strength and the devil card come up. So with that, watch what you're getting into with it, maybe. Make sure that what you're getting into is what you want to put up with, because other types that just lives, breathes, and eats their business, and will expect you to do the same.
All right.
All right.
And as a side note, to anyone who just noticed that the which one was it? The strength card that's blue.
Yes.
Yeah, if anyone noticed that didn't go all freaky transparent this evening, we finally figured out what was going on with his camera.
Mm-hmm.
Is apparently somehow in settings, remove blue got turned on.
Right.
Oops.
But I don't know. Maybe it annoys me. Maybe that it's ridiculous that we have that we're reaching for these people now. In my opinion.
Okay.
And that instead of looking at different people, the founder of ACT UP died like 2 months ago, and there was like a little blurb in The Voice, and that's it.
Okay.
And
I can understand the frustration with very important people being forgotten.
Right.
I can also understand that history ultimately becomes contextual as to what's going on with everything else in the world.
Right.
So to some degree, we are going to pick and choose our history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's inevitable. And it doesn't mean that the founder of ACT UP dying is going to be forever lost.
Right.
But at any given moment, it can become very, very hard to try to hold space for everyone all at once.
Right.
You know, it becomes very difficult to recognize, properly mourn, properly, you know, attribute everyone at the right moment, you know, at the, you know, key moment. Sometimes it's going to be a little lost to history. History is going to take a moment to catch up.
Right. And then the other side of that is, you know, we talk about ACT UP, who got us the, you know, fought for medical funding and retrovirus drugs, and, you know, not just being stuck in a hospital ward to die, and, you know, being happy.
ACT UP was not peaceful.
No, it was not peaceful. But the other side of ACT UP was Los Angeles Angels Love Network. And the Love Network was the one that was feeding them, giving home health care. You know, it was the L side of the LGBT part of that, because most of them were lesbians going in to take care of these gay men. Nobody talks about them. Nobody talks about, you know, these important pieces, because it doesn't fit the political climate. And I'm tired of our history being used as a political weapon.
That I can understand. But at the same time, it's again contextual to what's going on.
Right.
Because some of that is also seen in current protests. And to the, if anything, in the worst light possible, for people fighting back against protesters, is that medical tents are being shot up with tear gas, rubber bullets. You're shooting medics, you're shooting journalists, you're shooting at medics, you're shooting at journalists. So if anything at this current moment, protests going on for Black Lives Matter, or however you want to look at this, protests related to Floyd's death are ultimately even worse than what we would have experienced and what we did experience to some degree. While the caring medical treatment side of ACT UP's actions is kind of shelved. At least it was at the time respected as healthcare. That these were medics helping with medical problems.
Right.
And were not subject to harm. That while you have ACT UP, and many of the members of ACT UP, you know, protesting hardcore to bring attention and to fight for funding for research and medication, and to get medication to people, and suffering, you know, in that.
Right.
Those who are over here taking care of those who are sick were left to take care of those who were sick.
Right.
They were not simultaneously being gassed and hit with rubber bullets and prevented from taking care of the sick and physically harmed in that moment.
Disagree. I think that they were doing both, except they didn't use rubber bullets. They were using real bullets and real rocks and real stones and real wooden batons. They were being gassed.
But hold on. Okay, but again, if you're looking at ACT UP itself, like, because I'm throwing a crowbar, and separating, the Los Angeles Angels from ACT UP demonstrator protesters. Like, I'm shoving a crowbar.
Take a look here. And I agree.
You got a question in the middle.
Yeah, question in the middle. You do your job, Vanna.
Oh, would the European Wax Center hire me? Would that be better?
Let me take a look here.
And this is again from Mimi.
Yeah.
And thank you for your specific questions. We do appreciate those.
Yes. Looking at it, yes, they would hire you with, the star card appearing here and the Nine of Swords, the Knight of Swords appearing here, and it would be better money. So there is no devil going on here. There's just, strength and you having more opportunities there also. So I would go with that one.
Okay.
But no,
like, I understand they're basically umbrellaed under the same, but I'm still throwing a crowbar between them. Is that they're because they were recognized as functioning differently. It wasn't that this group is coming in to help support protesters in terms of taking care of their medical needs when they get tear gas shot at, whatever happened, fought back against to stop this protest. They were at least allowed to go ND. Now, the protesters on the other side, I would say to some degree, there was still some respect for medics on the ground trying to help with protesters. It is generally, it is part of the Geneva Convention that regardless, shooting upon medical personnel is a war crime.
Right.
You do not do that. You do not shoot.
The government needs charged.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what it was. It was when China sent the tanks in to run over people.
Tiananmen Square.
Yes, Tiananmen Square. That's the level that I am seeing out of these protests with the government response.
Yes. And in a absolutely tone-deaf move, that happened 31 years ago today. And the House Republicans posted about it. That the fight needs to continue.
Right.
And how horrible that action was.
Right.
What the fuck, House Republicans? What the fuck?
Right.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you explain this one to me? You're condemning the Chinese government for their actions 31 years ago and their continued government structure and how their people are treated. And you seem to not be getting that in the United States right now, you are pushing and calling for the same level of actions. You are supporting a president who is acting like a dictator, who is getting ready or trying his very level best to deploy our military against peaceful protesters.
Right. And gassing them and sending out soldiers. Sorry, that's what they look like.
In of all things, a protest against brutality,
Mm-hmm.
you're sending in more brutality.
Right.
Like, illustrate the point.
Right. Onto property.
That's what you're doing, is like you are just taking the point and you are making it absolutely crystal clear.
Mm-hmm. Onto property that is not owned by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Onto property that is not his to be on. It's
Mm-hmm.
a church that the patio was their medic center.
Yeah.
To do a photo op.
Mm-hmm.
Against local government, against state government. Well, there's just local government because it's DC. It's not a state. And didn't inform anybody except for the federal thugs.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while there was a curfew that was supposed to have started at 7, it was a little after 6 when this action was taken.
Yes.
So while some of the crowd was beginning to disperse, their claims, the government's claims, that, you know, they knew that they had already been asked to move, they had already been, you know, basically politely treated, and they were fighting back, is a bunch of shit.
Exactly.
Bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to something else because, you know, I've realized I am an old bitch.
Only during this conversation.
No, this week I've been reminded by Facebook every day I'm an old bitch.
Oh, that was so mean of me. Anyway, moving along. Oh, I'm a horrible person.
Very.
Wow. Usually you fight me on that one. You're going to give it to me tonight. Okay, cool. Got it.
For those that don't know, eHarmony had to be sued in 2005 because they didn't have equal dating sites. eHarmony was only for straight people. Well, now they finally obeyed, you know, obeyed their, you know, court order to open up a gay dating site. And their defense at the time was they can't give a same-sex dating site because they can't adapt the questionnaires to same-sex relationships because there's no pattern to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me, and I even screenshotted the ad that has been on my page now for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
There are children out there that do not understand. And, you know, I'm one of the old bitches. So, you know, you come into my den carrying Chick-fil-A and checking your eHarmony site, I'm probably going to deck you.
Yeah, I could see you doing that.
Yeah. You know, those have been under boycott for years.
Well, and for eHarmony, it wasn't even so much a boycott as just the fact that it was not a site we could use.
Right.
Like there wasn't an option there, that we were basically, you know, no gays allowed.
Yeah. That doesn't.
And yes, he did have a birthday.
I did in March.
Back in March, when all the shit hit the fan. It's a very touchy subject that we're going to move on quickly from.
No, we're going to cover this. I stopped having birthdays many years ago. Okay. And then I get with this one, whose birthdays are a national disaster.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And then what happens to yours, dear?
It goes to hell in a handbasket. Of course, my birthdays were always either one or two things. I get a day in bed, left alone, or I get to do what I want. Well, that didn't occur this birthday.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, I'm seeing people starting to want to boycott this and boycott that, and I'm like, you people don't even have a clue what a boycott looks like.
True. But let's finish that birthday discussion. So yeah, I typically do not celebrate my birthday. The most I will do is I will acknowledge that the day exists. I ask for two things. One, I want to go out and eat. Two, on the 4th of July, I want to see fireworks. Don't care what's got to happen to make that happen. I will find a way. So, that's it. And he, from the beginning of our relationship, was like, no. We've got to celebrate your birthday. We have to celebrate your birthday. What do you want for your birthday? What do you want to do for your birthday? Let's do something amazing for your birthday. And I'm like, no. For me, I survive my birthday. That's what I do. I want to go out and eat, and then the rest of the day is about survival. Because something invariably will go horrifically wrong, catastrophically wrong on my birthday. Hence, I do not want to pull a large group of my friends and family into the same room because there's a risk, a big one. So no, we don't celebrate. Small groups. I want to have people left in case there's like a meteor that hits the restaurant we're in. That's it. That's where I'm at. So anyway, he has his lovely birthday tradition of I either want to spend it all day in bed and having fun, or I want to go out and do something big. And then this year, he has experienced the joy of the birthday catastrophe, which was his birthday was at the end of March. What happened to the world in March?
Oh, a pandemic that apparently nobody pays attention to.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Jessica apparently does one big group.
Right. Which, I'm proposing that for our family now that we have 3 cancers within the same week.
Again, July 4th is a wonderful day.
I know.
And my mother already set this up for you.
I know.
Because my birthday, I'll just go ahead and put it out there. My birthday is July 2nd. There was a conflicted point of my life. I thought my birthday was actually July 4th. I had some messed up school records. I just about had a hard time when I got to high school. Anyway, moving forward from that. Because what Mom did is Mom was very clever. And she got away with lying to 5 children. 5. About various holidays being a celebration of their birthday, and it was a day just for them. 3 of us were born in July. We were all 3 told that the 4th of July was that the fireworks were just for us. We believed this crap. Our mother got away with this for many years. Mm-hmm. Many years with each of us before we got old enough to go, hang on a minute. we learned about this day in school. Mom, you have some explaining to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but she also tagged into Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Yep.
Halloween and Thanksgiving were the other two because I have two siblings that are near those two holidays. So yeah. Yeah, so basically those were also the two that figured it out the fastest.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They were the ones that figured out, wait, mom's lying to me. With the additional help of their older siblings going, we're gonna get mom back for this. I think was kind of their back of mind thought is, we're gonna fix you, mom. We're gonna let them in on the secret.
Uh-huh. But it's like, can we get some boycotts done right?
How so? Like what boycotts are you having issues with?
Well, I'm still aggravated with the Chick-fil-A one.
Okay. How so?
How so? We have teeny boppers, mainly influencers, going to Chick-fil-A during Pride Month. Screw that.
Yeah. Well, if you spend enough money with a YouTube personality, I'm sure it becomes easy
Mm-hmm.
to go to Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
However, for most people, take the money. Here's where I'm at with that. I don't think there's a single YouTube influencer that is going to overcome the Chick-fil-A history. So take the money and run.
Mm-hmm.
Get your spot, talk about how great Chick-fil-A is, and cash the fucking check.
Yeah, and then make a second video.
But at least it's not going to focus on the family. That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Take the money.
Mm-hmm.
Take the money, do the deal. It's less money for hate groups. That's how I see it.
Right. And then, we have eHarmony that everyone's now touting apparently, and it's like, no, that bigoted website needs to go and sit in its corner with its owner and die.
Mm-hmm. But again, as for the advertising, take the money. Take the money. Because again, there are enough people that know that's going to be a limited audience on that site.
Mm-hmm.
And if that works for you, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
If you find love on eHarmony as a member of the LGBTQ community, that's great. That's great. Just remember, and I hope someone points it out, that you're one of the few that's ever going to get to do that, because there are a large number of people that know their history,
mm-hmm.
and they will never sign up to that site.
No.
But take the money.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's less money going to somewhere that would discriminate.
Well, and
because that's where I'm at with companies is flipping, take the money. And again, like with Chick-fil-A, take the fucking money. I know I'm dropping the F-bomb tonight, but that's where I'm at.
Right.
Is take the money. It's less money going to a hate group. It is less money going towards a cause against us.
Mm-hmm.
So take the money, do the deal, talk about how great Chick-fil-A is, and then hurl it into the trash can where hate and discrimination belong.
Right. And then, in other fun stuff, this week, we went to the bank. You can take this away, honey. Since this only happens to you.
So, yeah. Yeah, that was fun. So went to our lovely little bank. It is a semi-regional thing, our bank is. It has limited locations. It's kind of small. We love them. We really do. This is totally not against them, but it is funny for the sharing.
Yeah.
So because of COVID-19, our auto insurance sent us a little reimbursement check. Tiny reimbursement check. $75, is it?
I don't know. We haven't cashed it yet.
I don't know. We barely paid attention. It was tiny. It's not like it's life-changing money. Then again, our auto insurance is awesome, and we don't spend a whole lot on it. So hey, we're happy. We got money. But so we've got this check, and because we have a joint auto policy, and technically on the policy we're listed as spouses, they wrote the check to both of us with an and. Small problem. We have, so to speak, his and hers accounts. I have my account at this bank. He has his account at this bank. We do not have a joint account at this bank. There is no account where we can jointly deposit this money. Oops. So while we were at the bank depositing a different check, we'd forgotten and left the insurance one at the house. My bad. I thought it was in his wallet. I asked, hey, little thing here. My other half and I have a joint auto policy, and they sent us a reimbursement check that has both our names with and on it. What do we need to do? And this teller, without missing a beat, says, well, she will have to come in and she will have to sign it over to you.
And she needs to bring her ID.
And she needs to bring her ID. And there's this moment where I'm like, the only way that this could have gotten better is if the teller had finished this with, and you tell her not to worry her pretty little head over it. I was like, sometimes, like, we find it hilarious. We find it hilarious. We really do. Because he's sitting right next to me in the car.
Uh-huh.
Right there. And hearing all of this, and is trying so hard not to bust out laughing. And go, first of all,
she wants a sucker.
Oh, but yes. So, yeah, she and I got a big laugh about this because this is the second time in West Virginia. Well, not even the second. We've had this happen a few times. And it's sometimes it happens because, as we've gotten into before, your legal first name historically has a male association that has gotten lost and is now more commonly a female name. So we run into that. You run into her, she, Mrs. all. But then there's that moment that living in West Virginia, gotta love it. Like, I went to buy mulch. It's a simple thing. And, you know, I had made a comment. It had been one of those days where it was like the honey-do list. Honey, get me this. Honey, get me that. Honey, do this. And so and it was hot and I was tired and we needed, like, what was it, 10 bags of mulch?
Yes.
And so I kind of made this comment in front of the cashier at Walmart. And she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Are you sure that's the color that she wanted?" And I'm like, you know what? I am too tired. I am too hot. I am too just over today to correct you right now. And I'm like, yes, I'm sure that's what she wants. I'm quite sure that's the color she wants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, moving right along.
No, you almost got refused that sale, though, which I just find hilarious. Because
yes, she was fighting me on this. And I'm like, will you just ring up the mulch so I can go throw the 10 bags of red mulch that is one of 2 shades of red into the car and go home? Like, that is where I'm at right now. I'm done. I'm done. I just want my mulch and I want to go home. It's like, I did not know that it was a thing to like, is that a thing that women are doing to their husbands? Are they sending them back to stores like Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot to return mulch because it's the wrong color? Is this a thing? Is this really a problem in the world? Does this happen? Can someone in our comments let us know?
Well, and we've talked about, the pink tax and how women have problems buying electronics.
Well, that women have that women run into a lot of discrimination and a lot of one, there's pandering marketing with more expensive products that are effectively the same, the worst of which, I swear to God, and I think the world is with me on that, was Bic for her. Bic pens in pink. Because apparently that was a problem that Bic, the pen company, felt needed to be addressed. That pens were not feminine enough for women.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I actually ran into a situation with a friend of mine that she had to send me to buy a television. And I did not get this. I did not understand this. She was trying to she shorthand her way through this. Because what I got told was, can you go with me, to Walmart? I need to buy a television. And I'm like, sure, cool, whatever. And we get to Walmart and she just okay, I got to go to the restroom. Can you go get the television? And I'm like, sure. Which one do you want? And so I go over and I'm like, stupid me, not understanding the whole situation. I said, like an idiot, oh, my friend wants this television. She asked me to come over and get it and blah, blah, blah. Instant red flag went up in the salesperson's head. Well, are you sure that's the one that her husband wants her to get? And we ended up because she is thinking she can send me over. I will ask for the television. Because I'm a man, put the television in the cart, and then I will walk away and she can come back from her pretend bathroom visit. Because I found that out later. Basically, it was a ruse for me to go buy the television, or at least get the television, so that she didn't have to deal with this asshole. Because little did I know that the further south you go, the more misogynistic men get. And all the salespeople for the electronics department at this Walmart are male.
Right.
They apparently, the store will not even let a woman work back there because it's too difficult for them. So yeah. So no, my stupid self outed the whole charade. And so she finally is like, okay, I see what has happened here. And she slowly walks over and I'm like, there she is. because I'm still not fully processing this. And I'm like, this is the one you wanted, right? And she's like, yes. And then this guy goes into, well, you know, I'm just not comfortable selling you this one. This TV won't last a year. I'm not sure that your husband will appreciate that you spending his money like that. Like, it turned into a whole, like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Now, you got reminded of this, and just to confirm, Sharon did confirm, because her husband does work in landscaping and has had husbands come back because they got the wrong color of mulch and wanted to switch it for a different color. Apparently, their wives' or spouses were very upset.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, but anyway, Sunday you get a call from Mama Knight.
Yes.
That she's going to go buy a new TV.
Yeah, because there was an incident in her home in which her television got broken. And not a violent one. It was nothing like that. There was an accident. Her television got broken. She needs a new television because the screen is shattered. So right now it's an overglorified radio that you can't tell what station you're on. And so she's like, hi, can you come take me to Walmart? I need a television. Okay. So we go over to Walmart and we're in the parking lot driving up. And I thought enough to ask the question, do you want me to go in or are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm fine. I can take this. Okay. So I park and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. And, you know, she's getting a television and there were a couple of other things she needed to grab, you know. Okay, this is still reasonable. No, what I find out is your mother comes out fuming. Still fuming because she started with the television and then got the rest of the stuff she needed. Fuming at the fact that the salesperson is trying to, like, one, the television she went to get was something in the 28 to 32 inch range. Walmart is out. There are no 28 to 32 inch televisions at this location. Okay. So she looks, and the literal next size they have is a 43 inch television. Okay. And so she has chosen this television. This is what she wants. It is in reasonable proximity to what she was expecting to spend. This is the television she wants to get. The salesperson argues with her over buying this television. This starts getting heated when another employee comes around and you know, says, hi, like, what's going on? Can I help you? And apparently, to quote what your mother has said, that she said in that moment, was, you can put that television in my cart right now. To which that sales rep politely did as your mother asked.
Well, you know, honey, I didn't get my bitch stare from, you know, my father.
So yeah, she had a very interesting experience. And at this point, as mad as she still was, I'm not sure she paid for anything that visit. I don't know. I think they may have just let her walk out.
No, I'm quite sure she paid for it, because I think at that point she would have ran them over with the cart if they'd even started their crap.
Yeah. She hit her tilt on that one. She was not amused.
Especially if someone asks, is that the one your husband wants? Because she will politely tell them that she is a widow and she'll do what the damn hell she wants to.
Yeah. But now my friend that had the television problem also had an issue buying a car.
Mm-hmm.
And that story becomes a little hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
When you factor in her husband does not drive, no interest in, for many years, did not have an interest in driving, never got a driver's license, not really a car guy. Talking to him about cars, car problems, not really. It's like talking to me about sports. I know nothing. I'm useless here. I know this much. So they go to buy a car. He is with her, and the sales reps, the car salesmen, keep trying to talk to him. And she's like, first of all, it's my car. Second of all, I'm the one that handles car maintenance. Third of all, I can repair my own car. And fourth of all, if you think you're going to get a sale today talking to him, you had better believe that's not going to happen. I'm like, ooh. Like, ooh. I can't imagine the rest of that sale. But she got a damn good deal on that car.
Oh, you know, and Shannon again says that if people ask her if her husband wants her to get that, her usual response is, if I cared, if I wanted to get him it, if he wanted me to get it or not, I'd bring him on to get it with me so he could voice his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been funny as heck, you know, some of the things that we run into. And it happens to you. I always get asked, does the boyfriend, you know, where's your boyfriend? You know, is your boyfriend with you today? You know, that type of thing. You, however, always get asked, you know, where's the wife? Because apparently I feed you enough and keep you dressed right.
I'm assuming. But no, I always get the misses kind of thing. And it's like, sometimes I'll fix it, and sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't have the time, energy to fix the world today. I'm not here for that. But now a friend of mine also did get a separate friend. She and I were traveling, and let me set this scene. We are driving back. If I remember correctly, we are driving back from her parents. I don't think it had been all that great of a trip. She's already in a foul mood, and then PMS hit. Like, on the way back, her menstrual cycle arrived. She is in a foul mood. She is tired. She has to go to the bathroom. PMS has just hit. It is not a fun experience for her. Like, her period experience, not a happy one. Like there's ranges. Some women, like, their experience seems to be like, okay. And then there's other women that this is the holy terror event. Hers is there. Like, other women recognize this is a holy terror version of PMS, is what I'm saying. Like, this isn't me being a man and talking about periods that I know nothing about. So this happens. We are driving back. She's tired. She's hungry. She wants, you know, she's there. And so we we stop at this gas station. We walk through the door. She looks at me, and all that comes out of her mouth angrily is, "Give me your wallet." Okay. So she hits the bathroom. I'm left to meander around the store or around this gas station. She goes to the bathroom. She comes out. She buys everything she needs, pays with my card or the money in my wallet, whichever one. Basically slings my wallet at me and says, "I'll be in the car." Okay. Like, I'm used to this. This is where she's at. I'm there. I'm supportive. I understand. I will not hold this against her. I am her friend. I love her. You know, like that's where I'm at. And, you know, just whatever, shit happens. And so, you know, now that I have my wallet and my money back, I can go buy stuff I want. So I go up to the counter with my little soda and my candy bar and set them down. And there's this little old lady working in the store who, I'm not kidding, had to be almost 80. And she looks at me with the most concern, sympathy, like empathy, appreciation in the world. And she says, "Is your wife going to be all right?" And we are in middle of nowhere, North Carolina at the time. And I just looked at her and said, "Yes, ma'am, she will be. It's just her time." And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, is she like this every time?" And I went, "No, this is pretty good." And went on with my day. So there it is. So after my friend's period ended, I told this story.
Mm-hmm.
She found it hilarious. I knew better than to tell it at the time. She would have probably gone back in and gone like full angry lesbian feminist on this poor little old lady.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm like, no. We are not starting that tonight or today.
Mm-hmm. But guys, have fun. We do want to thank Beverly Walker and our news, one of our new patrons, the Crystal Lotus Shop, for sponsoring the show and being a supporter of the show. And you know, take time. Today is a full moon. Take time to be looking at what's going on. Pay close attention to the media and the non-media. And sometimes you can't pay attention to media because they're either being censored by what they can tell you or they've got a skewed viewpoint. Also, do your research for your history, please. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Find the right heroes and stop mixing them up. It just gives me a headache. And we'll get you probably a bullet point lesson on why this is wrong. And have fun. This is a great weekend to have fun. This is a great weekend for you to spend time with your family.
Oh, apparently Jessica thought about asking for a love reading.
Jessica, do you have a specific question? Because love reading is a subject.
Mm-hmm. No, we let me clarify. Aeson works off of questions. If there is a specific situation and you have a specific question about it, that's awesome. For the show, especially, we cannot take on general readings, such as a love reading, a finance reading, those. Those are typically turned into a 30-minute reading, and given that the show is roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours, that means we can at most do readings for like 3 people, and that would literally be the whole show.
Right. But also, and this is the reason I work off of questions, is when I'm pulling up information, because I'm not just a tarot reader, I'm also a clairvoyant and a very good medium, apparently. When you go love reading, I'm looking at everything from your kindergarten boyfriend to your third husband that you put in the ground. And I'm like, okay, that was in 30 seconds. Now, oh, there was a blue ball. That's really not that useful.
Right.
So, Jessica, what would you like to know about your love life?
There you go.
There we go. Now, Jessica, make the light happy for me and put in a birthday.
Yes. We do need that birthday, especially the year.
Not so bad.
All righty, we have a birthday. Let's go.
Awesome. So, Jessica, you're going to have to be kind of the leader of this relationship because he's coming in with some issues and problems that he's going to have to leave behind and surrender. You will notice that if you look at his past relationships, there's a pattern of continual problems. Like either he's always considered the mean one or he's considered unemotionally available, and he's just been patterned, this is my behavior. He's going to have to leave that to the side. I do feel communication coming, and I would say that it's probably going to be in about 3 days. And it looks to me like the relationship itself is going to be really a lot of working on fears and old patterns to build a success. And let's see how you guys end up. Ooh, nice. So it turns out once you retrain him, he's actually really good at communicating and really good at feeling like he can be comfortable with himself. And it turns out to be a nice balanced relationship where you're the one keeping the balance and keeping the talks going on, and he's the one that's able to handle and work with problems. Okay? So you and Brian should do well.
And again, as we've talked about on the show, that's if you put the work in.
Yes. You could look at him and go, ooh, no, not in the mood for a project. But he's going to be a good one if you do.
There we go.
Okay. Any other questions before we sign out tonight? Nope. Okay. Just some things to keep in mind schedule-wise. I am still doing phone and video readings for your convenience. You can book those going to aesonknight.com. And, you know, you'll probably get Joe. He will in 3 days, Jessica. I will be returning to the Crystal Lotus June 20th. There will be a posted protocol for that. It will be different than what we used to do. It won't be... sorry, we've got to do things to new standards. And if you would like to book a personal reading or anything at CLS, be sure to be watching for that post. I will be returning June 19th or 20th. We're still waiting for clear guidelines on which of the 2 days it will be. We will begin our daily postings again. Now on Mountain Bears, you will start seeing a video each day during Pride Month of different topics of gay pride history. Please go and watch them and educate yourself, so that when someone looks at you and goes, "I got my Chick-fil-A and I got this cute guy on eHarmony, what do you think?" You can slap them over the head and educate them
proverbially smack them over the head with some
large history book. You know, you can start with the Bible and work your way to your favorite size one.
Well, there's that.
Yes. And also get involved. You know, learn about these things. Learn about what's going on in our country. Learn about why certain things, like right now, we are not doing Taco Bell. We are not doing Wendy's. We are not doing, I think it's another one of the pizza restaurants. Because, of course, they funded the Orange Cheetahs campaign. Sorry. And remember, we have primaries coming up. Please go vote. Use your voice. Put some new people in office because whatever they're doing isn't working.
And if you miss the primaries, please, please, please make a commitment to be there for the general.
Right.
But yes.
Yes. Use your power.
And you have new hours now for private clients.
Go for that.
All right. That is actually, we have been doing appointments from 1 to 6 for private clients. Those are off-network clients. In reviewing some things, we're going to be shifting that a couple of hours. So instead of 1 to 6, there will now be availability for private clients from 3 to 8. And we're actually going to open that up to 7 days a week instead of 6.
Right. And also this allows you guys, because we have to it takes a little bit of back house setup, i.e., making sure we have your appointment and everything together, and making sure that, because when I do go back to CLS, if you do book a 30-minute appointment, which will be my new minimum at CLS for appointments, you will be able to book same day.
Okay. And that's for days you're not already scheduled to be there, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So 30-minute minimum if you want an in-person appointment with Aeson at CLS that is not a day he's already there, just to clarify.
Just to clarify. But again, those same stipulations will, we will have protocol. The major changes in my readings is, one, I'll be wearing a mask. Because if I'm in public until, I have a lovely vaccine, I will be wearing a mask. Oh, it's the Crystal Lotus shop in St. Albans, West Virginia. If you've not made it down there, Jessica, you should check them out. It's where I have a local office at that I'll be set up at.
Yes, they're located at 89 Old Main Plaza. They are very easy to spot. They have the great big purple awning.
Yep. But I will be wearing a mask that day when in public. And also, you guys, we're going to have to switch away from you guys handling the cards. And I tend to always like to let my clients handle the cards. But until this is over with, I will be doing the shuffling for you. For your safety and mine, I do recommend my clients to wear a mask because you are in public. I am not quarantining with you. Love you great, but no, please wear a mask for your own safety. It protects not only you, but the other people around you who may be immune compromised or have diabetes or have complex immune systems, which that's my issue. I have a complex immune system. I have rheumatoid arthritis and diabetes on top of that. So that's why we've been a little bit slow about me reopening to the public.
And just to explain real quick, the biggest problem with clients handling the deck has everything to do with it's not really possible to sanitize a deck.
No.
Not reasonably in between appointments. So,
well,
yeah.
Yeah, and, we're still not sure if Sage kills COVID-19. We do know that it is an antibiotic. We do not, however, know that if it's antiviral. And granted, I have a lot of decks, but that would be a lot of cleaning, and some decks I can't clean that way, i.e. my Angel decks. We have 2 of them, and they are a limited edition. They are no longer printing those, so of course, Sage does break them down. So we will be working with things as safely and as best as we can. But again, we will be posting the COVID-19 policies probably the week before we reopen in-person appointments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you loved hugging your psychic, I do have to say, for right now, we'll be doing social distance hugs.
Yes.
So sorry, guys. We understand y'all huggers are suffering right now, and we get it.
Yeah.
But social distance hugs.
Right. Yeah. And basically, since the Professional Terror Association, the Psychic Alliance Association have not posted guidelines, we will be following probably the same guidelines as the stylists do.
There you go.
Yeah, because both those associations' current policy is no in-person readings.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. I hope you have a great Friday night, a great weekend. Get out, look at the moon. It's the beautiful strawberry moon with an eclipse going on. Remember, anything you set into motion within the next 3 days will continue for about the next 6 months. I.e., if you're fighting and arguing, you'll be fighting and arguing then. But until then, good night, y'all. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday.
Woohoo! Good night, y'all.
Good night.